Hey guys, this is Elena from Glass Factory. I'm here with Vik from Telling Secrets. Hey,
Good morning.
how are you
How are you?
doing?
I'm good. I'm good. But I'm gonna just jump in and say that um, that you and Glass Factory actually hold a really, really special place for me because when you like the first correspondence we ever had
Mm-hmm.
was when it was during it was during like lockdown.
Mm-hmm.
Can't remember what one month it was. Must have been like maybe January or December or something. And I was outside at night, which would have been daytime or the morning for you,
Right.
like waiting outside Domino's to for my delivery because I was like delivering pizza to Domino's. And like it was the first time I'd used Submit Hub like ever. And I just kept getting like decline.
Ah,
And I was thinking like, and at the time I was like, I didn't really that was like the first experience I'd had of like other people, like people I don't know, you know, expressing their opinions on like something I've done. So like in my mind, I'm like, cursing at them, just like really annoyed. And
mm-hmm.
then you came through and it was like approved. And I was like so happy. I was literally like, I was like so happy. I was like, wow, they're gonna cover the song on this American blog. This is so cool, And I was just like super happy. And then I, went on the Instagram as well, and it looked really cool and really sick because you guys are doing a great job. And I was just honestly, I was so happy. Like the next like 3 delivery, I think I got tips of the next 3 deliveries because of how happy I came across, after the blog post. So yeah, so
That's
that.
awesome. Well,
I
thanks
wanted
for telling me. That really means a lot to us. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I recently moved here to LA, to Hollywood. I think the last time we spoke, like I was back in London and England, and when the first track came out, and um I'm over here. I've been hanging out with some new friends. I've been hanging out with Matt from Slaves, but they've just had a little moment here where they've renamed the band and they've announced it just a couple of hours ago, so that's really cool.
Wait, they did that a couple of hours ago? Really?
Yeah, they did it this morning.
Oh my gosh, because I saw their profile picture and I was like, okay, where's the name change they promised? So I must have just barely missed it or something. I checked like first thing in this morning. That was
But
3 hours ago.
yeah,
That was
so
3 hours ago.
yeah,
All right, cool.
it's actually been like just really sick because I know that they wanted to do it for like ages. And like and it's just nice to be able to see it and like that it's happened and everything. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I write songs. I've moved here and I've been trying to make some new friends. That's it.
Cool. Well, I mean, how long have you been writing music?
I think the first song that I ever wrote that I actually liked was probably when I was about like 15 or 16. And the first song that I ever, that was ever born in like a practice room, must have been probably about like 12 or 13, something like that. So I don't know if that counts. I don't know where it starts, to count as like writing like actual music, but it's one of those two. For me, I don't really look at it as anything other than fun. Like, just like it's I don't know, like it's the most fun thing. I mean, there's probably like 2 or 3 that I like, equally, but one of them is literally just sitting down here and recording a song. And it's not a chore. It's probably the same as playing like PlayStation for some people or whatever. It's just fun. So that's why I'm kind of like, like I can't tell what's going on really objectively.
Right. Yeah. And then you're just really starting to get some traction, I guess, is that if that's the right term. Because you're just like releasing music now as Telling Secrets, right?
Yeah. So we had a little bit of a hiccup this year, like because we, first song came out in like 8 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second song was like, you know, it was fully written and everything. But so obviously I ended up moving out here, which kind of delayed things. But
Mm-hmm.
prior to that, like we had some recording issues where there was just things not quite right, you know,
Mm-hmm.
in the like technically with the recordings and stuff. So I've actually recorded Casting Stones 5 times, like, so, and the 5th time was like, and not because it's like, oh, one take was better than the last or whatever, just because there was like some kind of distortion or something going wrong somewhere and we couldn't figure it out. So I had to go all the way from like London to Manchester for like a few hours just to re-record, you know, like one bit, and then like get it done. And then so that's why it's taken 8 months, not because like, you know, I don't have any songs or anything, but like, you know, just like life stuff, I guess.
Yeah. So I'm gonna ask this. I'm sure you've probably been asked this before, but why did you choose the name Telling Secrets?
So it's really difficult to find a name
Mm-hmm.
like these days that is like, one, that like sounds cool, and 2, that is like the only one, you know. So so I had essentially like, I had like a list of these names, and then at the time I was like talking, you know, on Zoom and Skype or whatever with Matt, you know, Matt McAndrew, and he was giving me name ideas, and I was, you know, and he gave me a really cool name idea which was called Fortune Teller. And I really liked Fortune Teller. I was like, oh, that's the one, like that has to be, you know, that I love that name. But there was somebody already called Fortune Teller, and because they were like on Spotify already, I got really just turned off from that name. You know, that sucks, like, because you like tell, you know, it's like hard enough to get people to like, you know, like check out your band or whatever, but then if they like go on Spotify and there's 2 of them, they might just give up, or they'll be like, oh, which one's yours, you know. And it's like, I can't be bothered with that.
Right.
So telling secrets was just like, you know, I like the contrast between, you know, like I think it's cool how 2 words can have so much contrast, but like if you say telling secrets, like it still makes sense. And you know, I mean, when we get on to kind of talk about what the songs are about, I think it kind of gives you like a sense of you know, of my thinking. And I feel like a lot of that is kind of drip feeding little bits of concepts and things that, you know, if you were to say outright, people wouldn't accept it, or they'd just kind of like be like, well, that's stupid, or like that's wrong, or that's like toxic or whatever. And I think, you know, with these songs, you can kind of tackle like real life things that do happen, and people are sensitive to.
Yeah, because I mean, a fortune teller tells you the inner secrets or whatever that you don't know, whatever, you know what I mean? So yeah, that's kind of cool that you like stuck with that vision but made it your own.
Well,
Yeah.
I tried.
Yeah, I know you're probably like, oh yeah, I'm not putting that much thought to it. It sounded cool, but like really, I mean, you have concepts to your songs, so like it seems like you had pretty deep detailed context to your current music and so on. So like, why not put a little bit more thought into your band name? Like that's
Honestly, it's the worst. Like it's every single failed band name, not maybe like every single one, but it's like a cool like album name. So I've got like next like whatever 10 albums or whatever like figured out already, and I'm sure Matt will tell you the same thing, because you know, it's just not, I don't know, like I can't imagine how lucky you must be to just like think of literally one name and just be like, oh, that's cool, let's go with that, and then that's it, you know. I wish.
How has the pandemic and affected your creative process as a musician?
It was very good for the, you know, for ideas, writing songs, time wise. It Trying to think of the timeline here. So when did it start? It started in like, for me anyway, like the changes really started happening in like late February, early March, 2020. And before that, I kind of stopped like, recording and writing songs. I was a little bit done with it. I wasn't really feeling inspired. I don't think I'd written anything in like probably a year and a half. And then it wasn't so much that I had more time on my hands, because I still had like, Zoom, whatever, meetings and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just that, I was kind of fed up of what I was doing. I was like, oh, well, I'm just gonna do these songs. Like all these people who have like, real jobs have started making like TikToks and like dancing in their pajamas at home in the pandemic. So like, why shouldn't I just like try and write some songs,
Mm-hmm.
And it was good. I watched I watched a lot of films. I did a lot of reading, and then just kept to myself. Like for me, like quarantine was really good, because I'm what's that word when you like being alone? I can't think of it right now.
Reclusive?
No, but that will do as well. I like, I don't mind it. Like I've lived alone for basically, like since I moved away from home. So it was a really good time for me to just kind of just chill and just let things like come and work stuff out.
Mm-hmm. What is like one of the main concepts that arose whenever you were in the writing process?
Well, I think, I mean, up until recently, every single song was about something that, happened to me, or that was happening, like somewhere. Mainly happened to me, because I kind of like understand the situation a little bit better, so I can, bring in like metaphors and analogies in the lyrics and kind of hide like what's actually going on. So if we take like Secret Lies, for instance, and this will like draw into like what it's about as well. When people were kind of, writing reviews, and you were doing your thing, a lot of people said that it was about like mental health and being like locked inside and quarantine, things like that. And it does make sense in that sense, and it can definitely be applied in that sense. And in a way, it is like, I didn't necessarily target it at like mental health stuff, because that's not something that I personally, struggle with, and I wouldn't feel right to write about that, because it's like, I don't understand it. It's not mine to explore. But what I did do was that it's got like a dual narrative. So the chorus is, quarantine all over, are we trapped? Are we free? Like the idea behind that was that you're kind of at home in your own space, right? You can do anything you like. You can jump on the internet and like, do whatever, like stick on a VPN and like do whatever you want. So in that sense, you have freedom. You can like message anybody, talk to anybody, and people may not necessarily know about that. But then at the same time, you have to stay inside. So you're kind of trapped. So it's like, am I like, do I feel trapped, or do I feel like have free will right now? So that was what like embodied like the chorus of the song. And I can't remember exactly, but I think the chorus was actually the last thing that I managed to finish off in that, because it was called it was called like Left Behind before it was called Secret Lies, and it didn't really make any sense. But there were some surviving lines in there. The other kind of topics and things that I'll explore like throughout all songs is like dynamics and like relationships. So in Secret Lies, like you can kind of get the meaning, like the meaning that I was thinking about when I was coming up with the words at the time, through like two different lines. So where the song starts off and it goes, we could tell each other secrets just to throw our lives away. The whole concept behind that is that if you have like, if you've built something with someone, you know, whatever, any kind of partner, and then you tell someone outside of that partnership something that only your partner should know, then essentially what you've done is you've told a secret, you know, that's between two people, and you've told the third person this secret without this person knowing. And I feel like that kind of throws away, or maybe takes away from this bond, this life that you've built. You know, and if you know, if you like listen to the lyrics, it's kind of like, you know, I know that it's forbidden, but I've tasted despair. It's like similar kind of thing. Like, you know, you're not meant to like break this bond, but you have, because you've kind of, you know, told this thing. Or I'm whispering to a stranger who helps me hide all my lies. You know, like, again, this third person is keeping their mouth sealed that you've kind of told them something. And then at the same time, you know, there's a few lines in, like, I knew I was gonna like move out here, and kind of I had to, you know, leave all my friends and leave you know, family and everything. So it was like, it's in our human nature to be afraid of change. Like, I knew that this was gonna happen, and I've like always wanted to come out here. But then, you know, I'm like, oh, like, I'm gonna be on my own, like, you know. So it's like, so, and then anybody who I told was like I would not have, you know, I could not do that. I wouldn't have like the courage, or like maybe the motivation, I don't know. But yeah, so that's kind of like the actual vibe of that song. So, you know, when I'm like writing in that book, in the video, supposedly it's kind of me writing down like all these secrets, and, you know, all the things that like I told someone who I shouldn't have told, and then you know, trying to like hide the book, I suppose. So that's what that song is about. I can't remember when I started writing it, but I was doing, so I actually studied law, you know, like when I was writing that song. And I had this apartment in Manchester, and I had, like, it was in the summer, and at like 7 p.m, you know, like golden hour would like come in through the window for about like probably like 20 minutes.
Right.
And I used to always get my acoustic guitar when that happened, and just like stand in the sun rays, and like try and like figure, just like jam the chords of the song and try and figure it out. And that's why I said it took a month, because I really wanted to work the song out on the acoustic. So that song was meant to be an acoustic song.
Wow.
And then I showed it to Matt, and then he was like, yeah, that sounds pretty good. And then I just started like recording it with the electric guitar, and I was like, all right, well, it works, so let's just do it. And then that's how that became the first one, because it was just, you know, ready first. That's it. But yeah, I can get onto Casting Stones, or if you want to take a minute to not have to listen to me yap, then
No, I was just thinking, like, how does that play into Casting Stones? How do those two relate with one another?
So I know you haven't seen, like, there's going to be a video. I suppose by the time this happens, there's going to be a video. I'll send you I can send you the video so that you can.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'd love to see it.
If we dull Secret Lies down a little bit, you know, it's about a relationship, and it's about, you know, a relationship between, you know, me and someone else. And essentially what's happened is I've, you know, stepped outside of this relationship and started talking about the troubles within the relationship to somebody else. Casting Stones starts off by, you know, the other person in the relationship finding the book in the first you know, song, and then it's just about casting stones at your reflection. Like, it's kind of like an introspective kind of song where you know, you acknowledge that what you did was wrong, and you acknowledge that there's parts of you that, you know, contain toxicity, which is a, you know, current, you know, commonly used word right now. Right. But I think it really works. And and again, there's lines in that song, I wish I could burden you, kind of same kind of vibe. Like, I wish I could have, like told you about those things, but there are just things that, like, you want to keep inside because you don't want anybody to know. Because like I said earlier, like, they might not understand, or they might just write it off as like, that's unacceptable without kind of, understanding the whole thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, so the whole video just builds on that. So what, if you were to watch Secret Lies and then Casting Stones one after another, like, it would make sense. But I think Casting Stones has like a really, I don't want to say powerful or personal, but it is powerful and personal. Like dual narrative, where I think I started, coming up with the idea of that song like in May of 2020, which is when like the whole Black Lives Matter thing, happened, and the quarantine and everything. And this relationship stuff like did actually happen to me. It wasn't like, it probably wasn't like as dramatic as like the song seems, because that would be like, I suppose that's the whole point of art. You like emphasize and try and, make pictures and whatever. But, it did happen to me. So this whole Casting Stones idea was built off that. But then what really sparked, especially the chorus, because I had the verses before the chorus, was the whole Black Lives Matter, a movement, and how it unfolded. Because I was originally born in Hungary, in Budapest, which is in, like kind of Eastern Central Europe. And sadly, a lot of countries from there by default are very, racist. And I hope this, like, I really hope this doesn't come across the wrong way for people, because I spent a lot of time thinking about this. But I think the, there's different places in the world that are in different sort of, like there are different like parts of dealing with different issues. You know what I mean? So like the US, for instance, even though it's far from perfect, or maybe the UK, even though that's also far from perfect, is a lot more developed in terms of like accepting different cultures and different kinds of people than any country in Eastern Europe, as a general rule of thumb. So this whole Casting Stones thing happened because, everybody on Instagram was like really, pissed off, and everybody was trying to learn new things and trying to educate each other. And I kind of, I kind of took it a bit more personally, because I knew that, when people were talking about those kinds of difficult conversations that they need to have with friends or whatever, people close to you, that I would, that's my thing to do then. Like, that's what I need to do, because like, it's so rare for someone to like move out of Hungary, especially to England, and then experience like, being around like, Black people, for instance. Like in Hungary, when I left, like I'm pretty sure in the 7 years that I like lived, the first 7 years of my life, I probably saw like one Black person in person, So it was like a lot of the people that I knew from Hungary, and even in England, were part of the problem. And I tackled them. I challenged them, I spoke to them, I got into arguments with, not like like physical arguments or anything like that. I did get into arguments with them, and I felt like that was what I needed to do. And then I realized that because of where I come from, and because of the culture of the past, like some of those things were instilled in me deep down, and I actually had to make like some kind of subconscious effort to not let them like appear in any way. So that's why Casting Stones is such an introspective song, because it, like, that happened at the same time, like relationship stuff wasn't going too well. So it was like internally I was just kind of like, well, you know, I fucking suck, you know.
Mm.
But you know, I'm glad that I did that because it turns out that, you know, all the people who kind of spoke to about the issues are you know, more open about things now, as open as they can be, I suppose, you know. And I'm glad that like the song is a thing, you know. It's not like, I don't really think it's that much of like a common topic when you take into account like, you know, all the kind of dynamic between the relationships and like doing things outside the relationship. Like, I don't actually think that people really sing about that from this perspective. So yeah, that's pretty much, you know, there's other parts of the song as well, like in the bridge, like, you know, I'm trying to change, but true colors will always keep me the same. So it's like, I feel like if you're in a certain, you know, whatever generation you're in, like you can try and adapt and change to like the future, but like, I don't think you can change 100%. Like some part of you will always like wind back to what you're familiar with and what you know, and you know, where you've come from, and then you, it's kind of up to you to like wrestle with that and bring it back and pull it to, you know, so that you can, you know, progress. And I think that's like the whole, that's what, you know, the main message of this whole movement is that, you know, you can only do it like together, and everybody has to, you know, even if it's like a tiny thing, if you like hear something or you have a bad thought, or you know what I mean, like trying to restrain that and trying to discipline yourself internally even. So, you know, it was those kinds of ideas that kind of sparked the song, and then when I wrote the song, I was like, all right, well, this song kind of could relate to Secret Lies, so let's tie them up. And that's why it's you know, 1 and 2, and then you know, it's going to end up being a trilogy. So then next year we'll have the third one out, and the idea is that you can watch like first video through to the end of the third video, and it, like, you know, hopefully makes some kind of sense. You know, we'll see if the video guy can cut it together well.
Yeah,
But
that'd be cool. I'm looking forward to seeing all that together.
yeah, I'm excited to show especially you, because I know that, you know.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited to see it. Yeah, I think you explained that all really well. So thanks for sharing all that. When people listen to your music, what messages do you have for your audience typically? And how do you want them to receive your music?
Honestly, I really don't think about that. You know, the messages in the songs are, you know, this song is about this, that song is about that, and then if you can interpret it in like a different way, then that's fine. Like, it's not like, you know, I feel like there's a really big pressure of like, you know, what do you stand for, and like,
Right.
and for me, like I said, like, I just see this as like an outlet. It's fun, you know. I think it does represent me as a person, you know. Like, I've come from like this like kind of family of nomads, you know, like Hungary to England to America, and then like we'll see what happens. And like, you know, I'm just one of those people who like I said, likes being alone. I'm quite, you know, emotional, and I'd like to think that I have some kind of intellectuality to me. So if, like, you know, if those same kind of people could make something of the songs, who like would get it, because that's who I assume would get it, then great. But like I say, you know, some of these songs are going to be about uncomfortable topics, you know, from the perspective that isn't ever really highlighted, you know. Some of the songs are just going to be like fun songs on the surface, but they'll still have some kind of, you know, real life correlation.
Yeah,
And
that's really cool. I mean, despite like you not saying that you, or you saying that you don't want to think about that, or you don't think about that, that's still the answer, like an answer that I was hoping for, because I was like, yeah, you seem like that kind of person that was like, oh yeah, whatever people interpret your music as, it's okay, you know.
It's just like I just find it like, is it authentic to sit down at
Mhm.
a table and be like, what do we stand for? Or is it
Right.
like how do you, and then what? Like, if I just don't get it. Like
Mhm.
it's not something that's ever come to me. Like, I've been in groups before where it was like, okay, we need to like figure out our message or whatever, you know. I don't really have like a particular message per se. You know, the story is that, you know, I was born in Hungary, moved to England, you know, things like, you know, there's obviously more to the story, but like, you know,
Yeah.
like I've had like experiences, I've had like a lot of negative experiences, particularly like emotional, you know, there's been like, I think definition wise, there's been like trauma, but I'm not really the kind of person who would like register that and like, you know, like I never talk about that ever.
Mhm.
So I suppose, you know, and then going from there to like, you know, so I suppose like the story is that, I don't know, it's just like an unlikely thing. Like it's, you know, people don't move out of Hungary. People, you know,
Right.
don't get, you know, all the stuff that I've been lucky enough to have so far. So if there's something in that to someone, then great. But I just don't want to like be like, here's the story. This is what it is.
Mhm.
You know, you have to accept this because this is what I like. I don't, you know.
Yeah, it also comes off, sometimes it comes off intense, and I mean there's room for that in some bands, some music, they can do that and rock it, but I think in general, when people try to do that, it's inauthentic. So what you're doing, it makes it more authentic and more relatable to people. So in
Well,
multiple situations too. So yeah.
we'll find out. I'm sure, hopefully, as time goes on. I'm just excited to like actually be able to play, you know, live. Because it's nice to like, you know, record songs and write songs and everything, but um playing live is kind of, I feel like, when you can actually determine like how this stuff, you know, feels.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you spend so long working on it, and you know every little detail about the song because you worked on it and mastered it and all that. And then you don't know what other people think necessarily until you see it for yourself, right?
Yeah, like, well, if you go to, so like if you go to a gig, for me anyway, like
Mm-hmm.
say if I'm listening to like my own demo, if I turn it up louder, then I'm like into it and I'm like really, you know, whatever. But if you go to a gig and you like hear some band and they're playing like banger after banger, then you feel like that energy, that song is like really good, you know, like
Mm-hmm.
it's got something about it that just like, it's like driving it, it's engaging and everything. And then sometimes I think like, oh god, like I've got some work to do here, you know, with like my, but
Right.
like, you know, so I think that's why I think playing live is where it, you know, where you find out whether your songs, you know, have what it takes to cut the mustard.
Yeah. Do you have any plans for doing any shows anytime soon?
Well, yes. um the plan is to like by spring 2022, it'd be nice to play.
Mm.
The issue is that, you know, in America, I'm not like, you know, I'm not really very well versed with like musicians right now. So I'm trying to like build like a kind of like a US lineup, because obviously like it would be difficult to like fly the guys out over here just to play at
Right.
like the whiskey. But not to say that the whiskey's not cool, but it just wouldn't be very cost effective.
Right.
Um, so that you know, that's kind of where playing here stands. Playing over in England, you know, is a very real possibility. It just depends on, you know, when I'm over there. So
Yeah.
the goal is, or like maybe the, you know, semi short term goal is to start playing gigs next year.
Yeah.
And
That'd
you
be
know,
cool.
whether that's in the spring or the autumn remains to be seen. But you know, we have to play some gigs. It's the next thing. Like we can't not, you know, we have to move this thing drive this thing forward and develop it, and that's the next step.
Yeah.
Sure.
Cool. Well, I think this is all I have for the interview. If you want to talk a little bit later, we totally can. So I'm just gonna say, do you have anything else to say before we head off for the day?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Cool. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem.
Appreciate you.
Yeah.